Jadual harian Hana selalu sibuk. Jadi, saya kekal sihat dengan Vida C. Dengan vitamin C yang cukup setiap hari, tiada apa pun yang boleh menghalangi saya. Minumlah Vida C, perlindungan sistem imun anda.
Good evening, I'm Michael, and you're watching KiniTV News. Testing positive for COVID-19 can be nerve-wracking enough, but for one patient, he went through almost 2 weeks without hearing from the health ministry. And by the time someone contacted him, he had already recovered. This is the story of Rupert Shean.
On the 15th of January, 41-year-old filmmaker Rupert Shean found out that he was COVID-19 positive. For the next 11 days, he self-quarantined at home in radio silence from the Ministry of Health. Since testing positive, Rupert made numerous calls to the Ministry of Health to try to figure out what his next course of action was, all of which went unanswered. With the coronavirus rapidly draining him of energy, he resorted to his own self-quarantine.
Well, in a sense, I was lucky because I didn't show that many symptoms. I personally felt extremely tired. Like, you just imagine you haven't slept for days, you've jet lagged, all of those feelings. You have no energy. I had enough energy to make myself food, but I had no energy to think. I couldn't think. I slept 10 hours or 12 hours at night, and then in the day I slept maybe 5 hours or 6 hours, just constantly exhausted, which was very tiring. You know, it's actually tiring to be tired, you know.
When Rupert was infected, the hospital gave him an odd instruction, one that not many Malaysians were aware of. He had to report that he tested positive through the MySejahtera contact tracing application on his smartphone.
Monday, I called Glen Marie, but they were impossible to reach. So I called them and I couldn't get through. So I emailed them and they did reply, but they just said, please, can someone answer this, etc. But no one actually responded. On the email, they just said, please self-quarantine and someone from the government will contact you. I also phoned a local hospital, so like a public hospital. I phoned just to get a second opinion, and they said the same thing. They also told me to fill out the MySejahtera app, where you can update your status through the help desk. I did that on Tuesday morning. And I actually got a text message from KKM to say you have been registered as COVID positive and on Tuesday, the 19th. Please be informed that you have been confirmed to be COVID-19 positive. Kindly go to your MySejahtera profile to refresh your status. So that was the only information I got.
12 days later, he finally received a call from his district health office with an apology and a shocking reason as to why it took them so long to realize that he was infected.
I was contacted by Dr. Tan, who represents KKM, and I was, excuse me with my terrible Malaysian, but it says Pejabat Kesihatan Melembah Pantai. So he's from my local level clinic, and he's calling on behalf of KKM. He was actually extremely apologetic and said that he explained the reasons why I wasn't contacted, but also he admitted some fault. Basically, he said that you're living in KL, but you went to get your COVID test in a different state, Selangor, where BP Glen Marie Shah Alam was, because that was just the nearest one to me by BP Glen Marie. And said because of that, your BP Glen Marie, they raised it at a state level, but then therefore at Selangor state level, therefore it was never sent to KL. So therefore myself from KL, I was never received any notification to contact you. So in a sense, you were lost in the system. So I went to the Petaling District Health Office, which is in the email from KKM yesterday, to say, you must go there and they will do some checks on you. And if you have no further symptoms, then they will give you a release letter, which therefore confirms that you are no longer a risk to society. And then you're free to enter into public.
Rupert's story is not unique. Previously, we spoke to another person who tested positive, who never heard from the Ministry of Health and even after recovering, had immense trouble getting his release form. Besides making the SOPs more clearly defined and making better use of the MySejahtera app, Rupert has one more thing that he hopes Malaysia can do to improve the response to the coronavirus.
I would also suggest that they make the COVID test cheaper for people, for the general rakyat, because a number of my friends did not take the test because they thought it was too expensive. It costs, even for a local person, it costs 150 ringgit. For me, it costs, I think 190, but I saw on the test today in the center where I went to that it was 290 ringgit. And I think, would you really, if you had a little bit of a cold, would you spend 290 ringgit or 150 ringgit? Probably not, right? So I think one of the reasons is like it's causing like maybe people who are carrying the virus not to test and spreading. One reason for the spreading of the virus is because they're not making this test free or cheap. You know, I think for the average person, 150 ringgit is a lot of money. I think that's not the attitude that they should have. And I spoke to my brother in England, and they said it's free there. You know, and that will encourage people to go and get tested more, right? You know, and I think that's something that they should do more of, because it seems like there's a lot of cases, you know, as well, like the number of cases that they report is probably much less than it actually is, because people don't report it because they don't want to spend the money to get tested. So I don't know how true that is, but I'm sure that there's a number of people that don't get tested because of that reason, right? Yeah, or they just say, never mind, maybe I got it, I'll just self-isolate for a few days. Like some of my friends did that, you know, they just, even my foreign friends, they said, I'm just going to self-isolate, and they didn't do the test.
Now let's take a look at the country's latest COVID-19 figures. Hope you've been keeping safe, because the numbers are still in the thousands.
Malaysia reported 3,100 new COVID-19 cases today, with a record number of 24 deaths linked to the respiratory illness. With the new cases today, the country also set a new record for the highest number of active cases, with 51,977. According to the Health Ministry, there are 282 patients in ICU, with 134 being intubated. Selangor continues to lead as a state with the most number of new cases, with 1,196 cases, followed by Johor, Malacca and Kuala Lumpur. The number of cases in the worst-hit states and Sarawak have been increasing since the movement control order began on January 13th. Meanwhile, the only state or territory to report 0 new cases today was Labuan.
The job market isn't doing so well right now, but a report by UNICEF has revealed the scale of the problem. But before that, if you like what we do on this channel and you would like to see us do more, please support us by clicking on the link below.
A report by the United Nations Children's Fund, or UNICEF, has revealed that unemployment rates among low-income urban households doubled in the Klang Valley from September to December last year. The report, titled Families on the Edge, was based on a survey of 500 households in Kuala Lumpur's low-cost flats. It found that unemployment among heads of households doubled to 15% compared with 3 months earlier. 1 in 3 adults in these households was said to be without a job. The report also found that income levels among female-headed households and households headed by persons with disabilities were now 24% and 36% lower respectively than at the end of 2019. 63% of the households were also found to be experiencing difficulties in meeting their basic needs and purchasing daily essentials, despite government and zakat financial aid. Dr. Rashid Mustafa Sarwar, UNICEF's representative in Malaysia, said that while some families have started to recover, others have continued to deteriorate and, at the outset of the second movement control order, were close to breaking point. He added that UNICEF had extended its support to the government and looked forward to working together to strengthen policies and programs for families in need.
Now, when it comes to online shopping, I get very impatient waiting for my package to arrive. I'm assuming it's the same for many of you, even if I choose the next day delivery option. So I can't imagine what you must be feeling if you've used JNT Express recently.
JNT Express has apologized to customers over the violent handling of their parcels. This came after videos of disgruntled workers hurtling customers' parcels at a sorting center in Perak had gone viral.
In a statement, the logistics firm denied that the workers' protest was due to a cut in wages. Instead, the company said it was due to a misunderstanding on year-end bonuses. JNT Express said its payout management has clarified the matter and employees there resumed work on February 5th. The firm said it had not deducted wages nor owed its employees, adding that it was prepared to be scrutinized on the matter, and also addressed customers' complaints about damaged parcels, including transported food allegedly being stolen. They said they had formulated special regulations and management methods for settlement of claims and supervision of similar incidents, and fast settlement of lost packages. The company said it had introduced various changes following the incident, including on staff and vehicle expansion and management supervision.
Now for some news from the automotive world. There aren't many cars as iconic as the 911. This is why petrol heads may be happy to know that Porsche will soon be assembling its cars in a plant in Kedah.
German sports car maker Porsche AG is setting up an assembly plant in Malaysia under a partnership with trading conglomerate Sime Darby Berhad's automotive business, The Edge Weekly reported, citing sources. The newspaper reported over the weekend that the luxury car maker will be partnering Inocom Corporation, a subsidiary of Sime Darby Motors, which is Sime Darby's automotive arm. Inocom will construct a new plant specifically for Porsche in Kedah, in the north of peninsular Malaysia. The Edge reported that the value of the investment could not be ascertained. One of the sources said Porsche was making Malaysia its Southeast Asian hub and that incentives for the investment have been approved by the Ministry of Finance. Another source said there have been a number of big investments entering the Malaysian automotive sector, which the government has yet to declare. Reuters has emailed Porsche and the Finance Ministry for comment.
And that is all from me today. For more stories, you can go to KiniTV.com. You can also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube and Facebook for the latest news updates. If you like what we do, support the channel by clicking on the link below. Thank you and good night.